This tutorial is about volcanic eruptions and the tectonic processes involved before those volcanic eruptions. And the volcanic eruption is adding carbon to the atmosphere. So we know that volcanoes can produce vast amounts of carbon dioxide gas. But we might ask ourselves, well, where does that carbon originally come from? So the carbon is contained quite naturally in the Earth's crust, in rock in the Earth's crust. And we know that the Earth's crust sits on tectonic plates, and these plates are always moving. Now they move incredibly slowly, so we're talking about geological time scales, so it's a really slow movement. But the two plates here, the oceanic plate and this continental plate, they are basically colliding towards each other, and we've got the oceanic crust being forced down below the continental crust. And it's during this process that geological processes are taking place. So a few notes here on the side that you can pause and have a look at, but basically extreme temperatures and pressures results in magma rising up into this continental crust and being stored for a time before it's released through that volcanic structure. And within that magma we've got carbon and carbon dioxide. It's been estimated that volcanoes emit somewhere in the region of 130 to 380 million metric tons of carbon dioxide per year. So that sounds like a colossal amount, but when we compare it to the amount of carbon dioxide humans are producing through the burning of fossil fuels, well, we're producing 30 billion tons of carbon dioxide per year. So that's 100 to 300 times more than the naturally producing volcanoes. So we're adding a huge amount of CO2 to the atmosphere really quite unnaturally. And in this slide I've got Mount Erebus. So Mount Erebus is found on Ross Island in Antarctica. It's a stratovolcano and it's an active volcano. So there's certainly a lot of water vapor being produced as it steams away for most of its time, but when it eventually erupts, then carbon dioxide is going to be released from Mount Erebus. So I'm expanding my science lesson into a history lesson now, and I'd like to tell you about a tragic incident that took place in Antarctica in 1977. Air New Zealand had been flying tourists to Antarctica, a sightseeing tour, and in 77 the Air New Zealand flight 901 crashed into Mount Erebus. They had whiteout conditions, and the pilot wasn't able to see in those conditions, and tragically the lives were lost. 257 people died on board that aircraft, and it's very rare for tourists to fly into Antarctica these days. Most of the tourists visiting Antarctica go there by ship. Okay, so that's volcanic eruptions done. A geological process adding carbon to the atmosphere.